Good afternoon and welcome to UnitedTV. My name is Kemal Erkan. Today is October 4th, 2024, Friday. We are back with our live events. Last 2 weeks we did the premieres since I was traveling. And today we have 3 events, and one of our client managers is going to join us. She's trying to log in. Once she's here, then we'll start with the revenue cycle management payment posting workflow. We have done that before, but it's just for us to kind of repeat that, not only just for us, but for our employees who may be new in payment posting or who may not understand the entire flow and different departments. So we use these as an education tools to actually train our people as well, and also our clients who would have a better understanding with certain things that we do. So Dora should be joining me as well, as I said. So today we are going to have, other than this one, we are going to have 2 other sessions. Sean Donovan is going to join me at 2:30 right after this event, and we'll have US-related topics and global topics that we are going to cover. And then 3 p.m., Dr. Erkan for Bariatric Friday, he's going to join us. And then today we are going to talk about the bariatric revision surgeries, which actually we haven't done that. It's one of the new topics. So as a topic, we discussed it in different ways in different sessions, but we didn't actually have it as like a full session. And the reason we are doing that is because we have patients who had lap band surgeries several years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And as technology is improving, we have better ways to do certain things and procedures. And for those who may not have a good, successful results, we have other options available, such as revision surgeries. And we are actually we are going to cover that at 3 p.m. So as I'm trying to do the okay, so Sean is telling me that Dora is almost ready. So now, while she's actually getting ready, so I can actually use this one as my therapy session. Like, I started therapy on Wednesday night with Dr. Erkan, and then Susan Anderson was part of the others section of the therapy. So then I have a couple other friends who were kind of supporting my transition from Turkey to US in the last 2.5 weeks. This time it was nice that I was able to do vacation, 1-week vacation. When I was in since 1996, 97, when we had people who, like when I was actually taking lessons in business school, approached to say, hey, we have, when you go to a different country, the first 10 days are the most important days, because you will be able to observe everything and then see all the differences. And after that, it would be like you would get used to it. So now the problem is someone like me, half of his life in Turkey and the other second half of my life in this country. So I have pretty good understanding of both cultures. But one of the issues that I see, and then I want our employees to also kind of understand what certain things we go through and why in this country, in the United States, why this country is way ahead of everyone else, is because the system works. So there is a huge, strong traditional system in place, and this is just for business. This is not just for politics, schooling. It's the overall system itself. In that, individuals are not that important, and that's kind of like the adjustments that I have to make every time I go back and forth. Of course, every culture has its own great characteristics, great qualities. But for us to advance, we have to adopt system related systematic approaches so that we can actually get better. So that's one of the things that I'm kind of just seeing every time. Is the communication so difficult if it's in writing versus I don't do anything. Actually, Sean is in the room with me, but they're trying to figure out Dora's technical difficulties. But talk to him a little bit. So what happens is, when I tell people who work with me, if they don't see the confirmation in writing, then don't assume that I'm okay or I'm not okay with that. So I always ask someone if I need someone's okay, I would have it in writing. So that's simple. But then, when I see in Turkey, now my family is going to be probably upset, but it's okay. So they just call. They call. It doesn't. The text message doesn't exist yet, so it doesn't do the work. So like my younger sister works in the government higher up, and I would never call her. Like, in fact, I'll give you an example. Dr. Ira, for example, I never called Dr. Ira during the even on the weekends. I would always text him first. I would ask him if he's free. I wouldn't assume that he's going to be free. He's going to be either seeing patient or he's busy with his family. So I'm not going to actually, bother him. But what I see in Turkey, everyone calls like, "Hey, do you need something for this?" And you're in a meeting, and if you don't answer, you're screwed. So because you couldn't answer, so that they don't know what you want or what you don't want.
You get unlimited minutes there. I know back in the day, it's kind of like growing up, we had landlines in the house too. When you would call, you have no idea. There's no caller ID, so you don't know who you're answering, whether it's a telemarketer or your neighbor across the street calling. So that's funny. It kind of relates to that. And also, I remember anytime you'd want to hang out with friends in the neighborhood, you'd have to call their house. Normally, their parents would answer the phone and say, "Oh, can I talk to Kevin? It's you." "Oh yeah, let me go get him." It's just one shared phone for the whole house.
But it's just like the certain like simple things can be done via text, right? This is just an example of it. But if someone's calling me, I'm never going to answer them unless it's my mom or my dad, because unless in case of emergency. But otherwise, they should be texting first. Hey, is like just before this session,
Right.
I have one of our doctors. He asked me if I'm free to talk sometime this afternoon. He's interested. Like he's a client. I would normally answer him, but he knows that there are meetings, there are stuff. So there are better ways to do things. Yeah, his daughter is.
I believe she is in the waiting room now. So I think.
No, she's in. I did.
So I think once.
But I think okay. All right.
Yes.
So she was waiting. She didn't have her camera on. So Dora, you're on mute. So you are not on mute now. So you're good. You hear me okay?
Hello. I can hear you perfectly.
20-25 minutes.
All right, I'm gonna head out.
So, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. So I was trying to fill the time while you were trying to figure out what was happening in the computer. So those things happen. But the good thing is, because we have been doing this for so long now, so we don't panic anymore. So we know technical difficulties are always possible. There are always possibilities for that. Now, you have done this session with me a couple other times before.
Yes.
And, I'd like you to introduce yourself to those who may not know you. We have our clients, prospect clients, and our employees who are going to be benefiting from this session. So,
Sure.
Okay.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Dora Beasley. One of the client managers for the payment posting department here at United Medical. I've been with United Medical. It will be 10 years in December. I've been managing for about 6 years. And I mean, that's really it. I'm a student. I'm in college. So yeah.
So one of my first responsibilities 25 years ago was payment posting. And I always tell this that I enjoy, now, of course, 25 years ago, payment posting was different than today, where actually one of our employees here, I believe she joined us in 2003. And she would actually give you a good background on how we were doing like Medicare check that would be 15 pages. And well, I'm gonna mention her name so that Lisa Smallwood. So she and I, we worked together, and she and I we would be accurate, fast. And then we have some others who were not so fast. They would spend 3 times more than what we would, and then we would go back and then correct those problems. Now, payment posting is one of the most, it's a really important element of the RCM, the revenue cycle management. So if you can tell us how we actually process it, what our workflow is, and I may have some questions for you after that.
Sure, no problem. I'll go ahead and share my screen.
I need to make that available. 1 second. And go ahead.
Okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So first I just want to start kind of giving a background of what payment posting really is. It sounds kind of self-explanatory, but there's a lot more that goes into what we do on a daily basis. So essentially, payment posting is the process of recording payments into our medical billing software, or EMR, and reconciling them with the outstanding claims. It's a very critical part of the medical billing process that helps to ensure that medical practices are paid correctly and in a timely manner, which is very important. Some of our daily workflows include what you see here on the screen, so lockboxes and correspondences, and I'll go into some of these with more detail as we go through the slides. Retrieving and uploading bank reconciliation. One of our newest processes while uploading non-reconciled clients' payment data. Of course, there's electronic and manual posting and service requests. We're going to start with electronic posting. This is the core of our workflow on a day-to-day basis. So what is electronic posting? Well, essentially, what me and the other CM for the payment posting department, Renell Johnson, will do is spend time enrolling providers to have their claims submitted electronically, as well as receiving their remittance data through our clearinghouse, Trizetto. And I'll touch on that some more as well. So just some of the core details of the electronic posting, ERAs. So those are electronic remittances advices. We receive those via electronic data interchange. So what that means is we have an internal connection with our clearinghouse that allows us to retrieve those through our medical billing software, and it just allows for more efficient posting. It also provides details that will go into a queue for the accounts receivable department to work. So when a claim is denied, essentially it's going to hit our department first, and we are going to escalate that to the accounts receivable department so that they can work those denied claims. They will process non-payments that are applied to deductible, coinsurance, and copay, as well as entering insurance claim payments amounts to a patient's ledger. So patient's ledger is what contains those dates of service that the patient was seen by the providers, as well as any corresponding insurance information or patient demographics that we need to be able to assist the patient. We additionally apply coordination of benefits information, and this is what allows those claims to cross over from one insurance to the next. It allows for a smooth transition between primary and secondary and tertiary. And that's just really important from our perspective because we are touching on the claims first. We are seeing that information, so it's imperative that we enter the coordination of benefits information. We also enter missing secondary insurance information. So, for instance, a patient may be seen through their PCP and only inform the provider that they have Medicare primary. They may also carry a secondary policy, and when we receive those, we do enter those into the system. And then additionally, we process online patient payments, and those are just an electronic format of a patient payment that we would pay our deductibles, our coinsurance, and copays. And it just allows for that seamless electronic transmission through our EMR. Going into reconciliation, this is a very important part of our workflow as well. So reconciliation is the process of matching the balances in a practice management system to the corresponding information in a client's bank account. So it essentially creates an internal work queue based on a provider's daily deposits from their bank account. We'll go in, we'll extract that data from their bank account. We'll manipulate an Excel format, upload that into QuickBase, and then utilize that as a queue to track payments, keep track of payments, assure that payments are processed efficiently as well. It's, again, a confirmation log for the provider's accounting teams, reporting for unposted EFTs, missing EOB reports. So this also allows us to be able to see maybe a provider is receiving Blue Cross Blue Shield, but they're getting that as checks. This will allow us to identify different insurances that we need to have set up for EFTs or electronic fund transfers, so the provider gets that money directly into their bank account. Anticipating check deposits from electronic remits. And essentially it is a financial safety net for the providers as well. It allows them to be aware of what it is that we're working on a day-to-day basis. It allows them to be able to track their financials from their side as well. And it allows for better correspondence between the practice and us, of course. This is a new workflow actually that we just started within the last couple months for our non-reconciled clients. So we utilize Trizetto Provider Solutions, and this is our clearinghouse that we utilize. Essentially, we configure an Excel spreadsheet with that payment data, and then we upload that Excel spreadsheet on a daily basis in QuickBase. And this, again, creates that queue, allowing us to track our productivity, as well as get an insight to the health of the client overall. It also ensures that ERAs are properly accounted for and processed. So again, it's not access to the provider's direct bank account, but it does allow for a form of reconciliation for those non-reconciled clients. Moving on to manual posting. So this involves the posting from our electronic lockboxes, and that's essentially a service offered by a bank where the bank will receive those files or those remittances, process those, and then deposit them into the company's receivables. We utilize a 7-day manual posting report for sources of manual posting, so that includes mail, fax. We use Cerner Secure File Transfer Protocol, which is essentially just a site that we utilize. Service requests, of course, which we're all very familiar with, as well as a summary of outstanding tickets by the payment poster for control of overflow, and online accesses for EOBs. This involves many different payer sites, some of the most common, of course, being Optum, Echo, Availity, Medicaid. Change Healthcare used to also be one of those sites that we utilize, and is still utilized for some payers. Unfortunately, with the issue that we experienced from Change Healthcare and their breach, it did require it gave insurances the idea to move to another clearinghouse, essentially from those that you see at the bottom. Touching on Trizetto Provider Solutions, because this is a big part of what we do as well, especially from the management perspective. We are essentially responsible for overseeing the enrollments for each one of our clients here at United Medical. But essentially, Trizetto is our clearinghouse. So it translates the 837 and 835 files, which are claims and remittances. It translates those in the system and allows those to be electronically transmitted into our system, our SPM system. provides detailed provider analysis, and communicates with payer delays. For example, Change Healthcare. Again, this is one of the biggest issues that we've been experiencing in the last couple months. A lot of payer re-enrollments, things of that nature, and that's handled on our side here. Me and Renelle handle all of those currently we're working on all of our Delaware clients, and we'll be soon working on out-of-state clients as well to make sure that we get all of those set back up and go from there. And then just touching on provider payer enrollments. Again, this is a big part of what it is that me and Renelle do on a daily basis. So we coordinate requests from the medical providers to the participating health insurance networks. We do enrollments for government policies, managed care policies, commercial policies, any insurance that our providers are credentialed with, we will essentially enroll those. And this just helps us monitor and maintain the enrollment process to ensure timely compliance with all of the government and commercial payers. So every payer is different. They require different workflows to complete these setups from the EDI side as well as the ERA side. So we work with a lot of different insurances to make sure that we are, of course, following the policies of those insurances. And for instance, Medicare is one of those government policies that we are responsible for making sure are enrolled from multiple states. Commercial payers, for example, AARP, UHC, things of that nature. So just a few examples. And lastly, the last biggest part of our workflow is reporting. From the payment posting perspective, we will utilize a lot of reports on the first business day of the month. In our field, it is imperative that payments are posted in a timely manner. And at the end of the month, we configure all of the figures for those practices, that being their charges, their payments, anything to kind of identify the health of the patient. And those reports include the practice summary for SPM. And that essentially will give us those totals for their charges, their payments, and their adjustments, as well as capitation and incentive posting. So capitation is a contract that the providers will have with the insurances that allows them to receive a lump sum payment on behalf of a member list for that specific payer. For instance, Aetna is our biggest capitated insurance right now. And on a monthly basis, we receive individual lump sums from Aetna on behalf of the providers to account for those visits that they saw those patients throughout the month. Accounts receivable as well. So of course we want to be able to identify any errors, review the accounts, and make sure that all of the aging and everything like that is good. So one of the reports that we utilize is the age receivables manual entry. And so this is where we're entering in that data from the practice summary reports, including the charges, the payments, and the adjustments. And that gives us an idea of where the practice was financially for the month. And then we have the average 6-month charges / days in AR. So we will enter data from the age receivable reports and then essentially attaching some additional information, and that will calculate the provider's days in AR. That will allow the CMs from the accounts receivable side to view the health of their clients. And then from an internal perspective, the reports that we utilize are the mid-month payment comparison. And this is a safety report for billing. So essentially we will compare the first 15 days of the previous month to the current month to kind of see if there's any fluctuation in those total payments. And this can help us identify maybe payer delays, things of that nature. We also run a report for unapplied payments and adjustments. So this ensures that all of the payments are entered in the ledger. Essentially what an unapplied payment is when they sit in a queue attached to the patient's account, but not attached to a data service. And it impacts the balance on the account, but it doesn't impact the balance per data service. And that can lead to an inaccurate balance on a patient's ledger. And then payment and adjustment codes. This reviews the number of line items worked. So every single payment, every single adjustment, every single zero that is entered from our side, we will run a report at the end of the month, calculate those totals by team member, and essentially that it gives us an idea of where we are on that perspective. And that is actually it.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. So just to kind of make sure that you explain everything, the workflow, the everything that we do on the RCM side is complex, but with the different tools and different vehicles that we have, we are trying to make this more systematic, more efficient. So obviously, payment posting is not the same payment posting 20 years ago, and every year there are different improvements that we have, and with technology, things are much better. But still, when we don't have our client managers and our payment posters, if they're not careful, they can actually the important part, Dora, I know you know this well, but just for our audience to kind of understand, the reason when something that is kind of like routine and kind of smooth, straightforward, when we stop paying attention to those, you actually find out some huge problem, but it's too late. So it's kind of usually the cultural issue from the business side. When I say cultural, I'm talking about the business culture. When we don't have our regular reporting, when we don't have our daily checkups, the validations and verifications, reconciliation, when we don't have those, as soon as you stop doing it once, you'll be surprised how quickly that can become a huge problem. 3 years ago, one of our clients, I won't mention the name, but outside of Delaware, one of their office managers, they embezzled almost $150,000 because they did not have the accounting reconciliation of this. So when we are doing everything on our side, we also expect our clients to do the accounting reconciliation so that here's what we are posting. We don't receive the actual money in United Medical. So we are processing data on payment posting. So then if the client is not checking, which, as you know, we make, accounting fields, so then they can also enter their accounting. If they don't pay attention, it may be way too late to find some of these problems. So business is a serious matter. So then we have to kind of make sure that the system is in place. Daily discipline, weekly discipline, monthly discipline is in place. So then we are not finding out these problems later on. Also, we are using, as you mentioned earlier, with the account receivable side of it, the days in AR. If everything is not posted correctly, we won't be able to have a good understanding of where our daily days in AR is. So part of the numbers, the nice thing about the numbers, they are objective. So, but they're only objective if you use it in the same discipline. So, like, last week, one of our clients wanted to reduce the charge amount for one of the CPT codes. And they thought it was so simple because it's just like, hey, like I don't want to charge this much, I want to charge that much. But then, hey, what's going to happen to the historical data? Like, we want to be able to compare last year's charges, this year's charges, and then what's going to happen to today's in AR. Now it's not going to be, you are going to make yourself handicapped. And then, but there are easier way to take care of those. So
Yes.
the charge amount is standard for us. But if they want to have a self-pay rate, which has to be more than Medicare fee schedule, they can always do the discount after they see the patient. So, but how their understanding is different because they don't see the whole big picture, and how we use these reports these monthly numbers, and this is kind of like explaining, this is why we do certain things, this is why it's important, this is, how it needs to happen. And then when you explain that, like, oh, well, I didn't know there's that much behind that process. So thank you for explaining all this. And there's one other thing that I want to mention, where payment posting in RCM is extremely important. Another element is the takebacks and the offset, which becomes almost like a disease these days with the insurance companies. They do unauthorized takebacks and offsets. So what that is something that's paid 2 years ago, or 18 months ago, or 24 months ago. 28 months ago. They come back and then they reverse the payment. They take the money back, but they take the money from a future payment of another patient. So that if you don't actually have a good accounting of that, then you may actually lose a lot of money, we as the client in this case. So that's why each department in the RCM is very important. But I think payment posting, maybe I was a payment poster once, so I think it's one of the most important ones in this process, so that we can have accurate data in place. So thank you for joining us. And then
Thanks for having me.
next time when we have the discussion, I know we are going to rotate. Ronaldo was also available today, but it's just from our system setting, a system point, how we structure it works better if we have one-on-one. So we'll do the next session with her. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Kemal.
All right, so we are going to actually close this link. It's 2:36 with the second link for today's second session. We'll be starting that in probably in 6 seconds, hopefully. So we'll see you guys soon.